Hello and welcome, my name is Haas, and this is another Hearthstone Goblins vs Gnomes deck guide. This time we're taking a look at a Druid deck, a relatively straightforward Druid deck that focuses on the mech cards. I've called it the Mana Mech Druid, as it centers around cheating as much as you can with mana, using cards like Mech Warpers and Innervate. To give you an impression of the effectiveness of the deck, here's an overview of the last 130 matches I've done with this deck. As you can see, it has about a 65% win rate and is effective against a lot of different decks. 90% win rate against Control Warrior, very high, 77% against Warlocks. Now, this is divided into about 60% against Zoo, and, well, I have yet to lose against Handlock with this deck, so a high percentage there. On the flip side, it performs poorly against other Druid decks, which are focused a bit more on late game minions and tend to run a lot of taunts. It's also pretty bad against Shaman decks, I would imagine. I haven't fought a lot of them, only 2 as you can see, but Shaman has basically always been very good against Druid. Enough statistics, let's have a look at a few matches that I've done with this deck, and then I'll go over the entire deck list in detail.
Malfurion versus Rexa.
A Hunter? Good thing we're going second. That extra card is pretty great in this case. We want to keep the Keeper probably because we have the coin. We don't want to keep the Wild Grove, although it is good at the start. Against the Hunter, we really need to mulligan for answers. If we don't have a Wrath when he starts playing Undertaker, then we may very well lose. There we go, Wrath. It's sort of a coin flip at the start, really, which is not great, but we have like a... Okay, Leopardum. We have like a 60% win rate against Hunters, so this should be fine. Especially because we have a really good opening hand in this case. I'm just gonna coin Annoyatron, because I could also innervate out... I can innervate out Keeper next turn, or I can innervate out Spider Tank now. And Spider Tank now wouldn't really do that much, so I'm just gonna Annoyatron. Either way, he needs to run into the Annoyatron, otherwise Spider Tank, same result. Okay, that's okay. We can Mech Warper, Innervate, Spider Tank. That would be pretty good. We put a lot of pressure on the board. We really need to basically outrush the Hunter, if that makes any sense. I'll trade for the birdie. Like, the way we win against the Hunter is essentially making sure we keep board control. We have better removal than they have, if we draw properly at the start. The start is really crucial. Once we start moving into the mid game and late game and we have board control, then we've basically won the game. Okay, he's just gonna remove the Mech Warper. Sensible. They don't always do that. They often just go for face, and that tends to be really good for us. And now we don't have a good turn 3, sadly. But we're in a pretty good position here. He doesn't have board control, we have board control. We still have 2 removals in our hand. As soon as we get like Savage Roar and a bit more presence on the board, then we basically lock this game down. Loot Hoarder. Haunted Creeper. I think we'll silence the Haunted Creeper. We could kill the Loot Hoarder right now with the Keeper, but I think we'll silence the Haunted Creeper. So that way we can just remove it, make sure he has no beasts. He might be using Houndmaster, but even if he doesn't, this is a really good way to clear it, and this makes sure that he doesn't have any obvious traits, like he can't run in the Loot Hoarder or his weapon into any of these. He has to do both, if he wants to remove even one of them. So this is basically how you want to keep on playing. Make sure you keep on having the board control, so if he plays something else, we can remove that, while we slowly whittle him down as he tries to go for the face. Of course he gets the boar. It's typical Hunter result. Savage Roar, there we go. That's pretty crucial. So I think in this case, we can just... Well, we need to clear it, I think. We could Mech Warper and Shredder. But we need to clear the boar, and we may as well do that without losing any minions. And then we can just play the Mech Warper. I think. Like, we can hit it. But we may as well use the Mech Warper, I think, in this case. Just put more stuff on the board for Savage Roar. And of course he can trade here into our 2-2, which is fine. If we could just get more targets for Savage Roar, we win this game. Even though we're behind on cards, and... Essentially, he doesn't have any efficient ways to clear our board, generally. And our minions tend to be stronger. You know, it's the typical sort of mid-range versus aggro kind of thing that you want happening here. We're just gonna play this. We're gonna remove the Undertaker for sure, because if he starts buffing that, then we're in a bad position. And we don't have enough to kill him right now. But in theory, we have enough now. That's probably not gonna happen, especially because he has that Mad Scientist. So he's gonna get, like, a secret. If he gets Explosive Trap, then we lose 2 of our minions. But we fully have board control at this point. And he's just trying to tickle us to death. Wolf Rider. Okay, so he's the very aggro version. Which can be problematic. We're better against a little bit of a slower hunter. Because it's you know, it starts moving into mid and late game more easily. But we have the heal now. We're just gonna remove this because he probably has Explosive Trap. And then we're just gonna attack, see what happens. Yep, that's Explosive Trap because our Spider Tank just died. And then we can just heal, just to be sure here. We don't need the extra cards. That's a really good one to get. If that's gonna survive, then we've basically won, for sure. Like, that's that with Savage Roar. Alright, we're just gonna heal here. And now we have more than enough to kill him.
I'll show them.
Scientist.
Show them all.
We still have enough to kill him. Kill command. Alright. So we don't kill him yet. But we can just hit him in the face, play an Oitron. And yeah. Yeah, we don't have enough to kill him right now, so... An Oitron it is. Hit him in the face. And it's smooth cruising from this point on. As you can see, we've basically locked down the board. We've outvalued with our cards. He's not going to get a secret from this, which is also great, because of the 1 damage on an Oitron. Okay, well that's a move of desperation, that's for sure. It doesn't matter what he gets here, though. Like, nothing here is going to save him. If it's explosive, we still have enough with Savage Roar. So, whatever. Hello. Explosive it is. Savage Roar. And there we go. That's our first victory against the Hunter. Went okay, we had a pretty good start here. Let's go to game number 2.
Malfurion versus Anduin.
And a Priest. And that's double Angry Bears. We don't need any of those in our opening hand. Don't need any of this, in fact. This is all terrible. It's all gotta go. One like Wild Growth, for instance. That's basically the best start we can get. Innervate is good, Keeper's good, and there is Wild Growth. Lovely, lovely Wild Growth. Every druid basically loves Wild Growth. It's really good. Cheating with mana. So we're just gonna coin Wild Growth at turn 1, which basically moves us 1 turn ahead. And against a Priest, we of course, we're not that threatened by an early rush. So we can just coin into Wild Growth here, which is basically the best start you can get against anything that's not a Hunter or a Zoolock or a Mech Mage. Even then, it's debatable. We can double Innervate Ancient of Lore. That might seem wasteful, but that does put a 5/5 on the board and immediately gives us 2 cards back. So I think we're just gonna do that next turn. We don't have anything else to play at this point. Although we could Wild Growth. But then we still don't really have anything obvious for the next 2 turns, unless we... I mean, we're gonna Innervate Ancient of Lore the next turn then, so we might as well do it now. Get 2 cards back, and if he doesn't have Shadow Word Death, which I don't think he would keep in his opening hand, he hasn't drawn anything yet, then this is going to start doing a lot of damage, because it's gonna take quite a bit of time before we can remove it. And Thoughtsteal. Luckily, I can't think of anything to kill our 5/5 with in our deck, so that's fine. And I think we're just gonna do Spider Tank here. We could Wild Growth, but then it doesn't really help us play Boom, so we're just gonna play the Spider. Because we still can't play Dr. Boom the next turn then. And we're well on pressuring. He top deck into the Shadow Word Death. That's fine though. That means he doesn't have Death for Dr. Boom. And now we can play the Shredder. Not perfectly on curve, but we're doing pretty well here. Better would have been the Azure Drakes, for instance. Sludge Belcher. Okay, we don't have anything. Maybe we will run into... Draw into... Nope. Force of Nature. Okay, we don't have any obvious place here, so I think what we'll do is just run into it with the spider tank and kill it with the keeper. We could silence it, but there's really no point in leaving him with a 3-5. And then we just shapeshift. Because Wild Grove at this point is pointless. Because we're gonna play Dr. Boom next turn anyway. So we can Wild Grove and then we still float 1 mana next turn. We might as well keep it for the card draw later on. At this point. Well, Pyromancer. This is probably, yep, Power Word Shield. Does he have a second spell? Another Power Word Shield? Okay, that's pretty good. Not bad, Priest, not bad. We're still gonna Dr. Boom though. We do have to... Oh wait, well we can't now. We could, but then he is going to clear the bombs really easily. If he has another spell, he might have another spell. Probably has another spell, probably has a like a circle, so we don't really want to play Dr. Boom at this point. But we don't have anything else that makes a lot of sense. We could Spider Tank, Savage Roar maybe. But we do have the combo in hand, so we would be removing... We have 2 Savage Roars in this deck, right? So we don't need the combo for quite a bit of time, so I think what we're gonna do is just get rid of the Pyromancer with the Savage Roar. And then play the Spider Tank. Yeah, that's what we'll do. Not perfect, but it does the trick. We still have board control. And we don't lose anything because we have the amazing 2/2 Divine Shield. Really good Paladin minion. We are vulnerable to Organized Circle, of course. But he plays Piloted Sky Golem, so I guess he doesn't have that combo. Again, he hasn't really drawn much. He's done Thoughtsteal, of course. He has stolen this from us. And I think this turn we're just gonna Dr. Boom, because we can trade into the Sky Golem, then he gets a 4-drop. Like, less than half of the 4-drops have 3 health or less. So we probably can't clear it with the Spider Tank after that. So I think we're just gonna play Dr. Boom. He doesn't have the combo, Auchenai and Circle. So he has to respond in some way or another to us, and he can't do Mind Control yet. He already used his Def earlier, so I think we're pretty good here. Not to mention, if he does have the combo now, okay, he's doing Wild Power, this is kind of risky. If he gets hit in the face by the okay, he's healing with Holy Fire. I was gonna say if he gets hit in the face by the bombs twice for 4. Okay. So with Force of Nature, we only have 10 damage, unfortunately, so we're 2 off. And Swipe, we're 1 mana off of doing Force of Nature Swipe. So unfortunately, either way, we're missing 1 number, either 1 damage or 1 mana. We do of course have 11 with Shapeshift. So what we can do is the excellent combination of Azure Drake into Swipe. That's perfect. We kill the 3-5, which becomes a 5-5. But that's irrelevant. We hit him for 2, we hit him for 4 more. We have enough to kill him next turn. He is of course going to heal. And he might clear the board with something. Okay, he's stealing our Azure Drake. I don't like that, but it doesn't save him. Light of Naru. Doesn't save him, I'm afraid. We have 10 damage. There we go. That was a very fast game against the Priest, really. I mean, we do normally put up a lot of pressure with this deck. But this went quite insanely fast against a Priest of all classes. Alright, let's do one more match.
Malfurion versus Malfurion.
Alright, a Druid. That's one of the worst classes we can fight. This deck isn't very good against other Druids. Unless they're also Mech Druids. I think we're gonna get rid of the Mech Warper. It is an early game card, but we really want Wild Growth in this matchup. No Wild Growth. This is terrible. This could be over very quickly. But there's Wild Growth. Alright. Saved by the Wild Growth. Ciao. So, good thing he didn't go into Wild Growth then. Makes up for our very poor first cards. And next turn we can pilot a Shredder. He can trade for that with Chow and Hero Ability, but that is fine, that still leaves us with a 2-drop. And he hasn't really done anything then, if that's the case. So So that's exactly what we're gonna do. Pilot the Shredder. Raf? Yep, Raf. Okay, that's better for him. Because he could probably trade what comes out of this. Yeah, 3-2. Was a likely scenario. So, if he had just done Shapeshift, we would have been left with a 2-drop at this point. So we don't have any place. This is pretty bad, but next turn we can do Sky Golem into Dr. Boom. Or into Ancient of Lore, depending on what he does. Coin Druid? Yep. Druid of the Claw. Could have been a Short Drake as well, but... Sky Golem it is. Trades perfectly with the Druid. It's better for us than Azure Drake, that's for sure. Innervate... Dr. Boom, maybe? 7. Ancient of War. Okay. Wrath. It's not enough to kill the Ancient. Question is, does he have BGH at this point? He hasn't drawn anything yet, but they do run it in that deck. If we do Ancient of Lore, he just trades perfectly. Let's trade the Sky Golem. That always happens. And a Sen'jin. So we could play the Ancient now, because it's behind the Sen'jin. But then we don't have any way to really remove the Ancient in any perfect way after that. So I think we're just gonna Dr. Boom at this point. Yeah, we're just gonna Dr. Boom. If he has BGH. I mean, then he would have kept it in his opening hand, basically, or just drew into it. The chances aren't that high. Hopefully I didn't just jinx it. Because it would be really bad if he BGH'd this. That's now a verb. Mind control tech. Alright. Yeah, I've been seeing that a lot since Dr. Boom is in every single deck, and there's BGH. Right, this is a very bad position to be in. Let's trade the Boombot. It's more or less a 1 in 4, right? I mean, whatever else it hits, as long as it doesn't hit the Ancient. Okay. Although even if it hit the Ancient for 4, that would have been good. Let's play the Sky Golem. Then we could just Wrath the Mind Control tech. This does trade with the Ancient. In theory, he could have a good roll with the Boombot. Our Boombot. Okay. He could silence this and then trade. It would have been better for him not to silence at this point though with the Keeper. Like, he could have a Keeper and silence it, but it's better off for him to just do 2 damage at this point. Because whatever comes out of the Sky Golem is more likely to die to the Ancient. And then he still has the Ancient. With like 1 or 2 health, probably. So if this is Keeper, he should do 2 damage, and not the silence. But it's Wrath, so that entire line of thought, irrelevant. Oh, he drew, okay. So he's gonna take the 6 damage, yeah, he's on full health. And he's behind a taunt, so he's pretty safe. That's a pretty bad one for us, but, well, I guess it's still enough with Keeper. Wild Growth. So next turn, Cenarius, I'm guessing. It's the only 9 cost I can think of right now that he would play in that deck. Either way, we have the Wrath, so we don't need to use the Keeper. Let's draw a few cards here. And next turn, he is going to do Cenarius. I'm betting. So we need to get some stuff out here. Be able to deal with it, so we're gonna Wrath the 5-2. Pass over to his turn. Inevitably, it's going to be Cenarius. Is it? Yep, there we go, Cenarius. Second Savage Roar. Okay, that's pretty good, I think. We can clear this with the combo. We don't necessarily need the combo, we just need board control, essentially. We have the second Savage Roar. And if we don't get board control, we lose. By default. If we do the combo here, we can clear one of the trees with our damage. We can clear another with another tree, 2 trees, into Cenarius, hit him in the face for 7. That's pretty good. As long as we have board control, we are in a good position. We could swipe as well, and then like hit him with a hero ability, hit the other one with the Keeper. The end result is that we have a Keeper on the field, because we still need to trade with the 5-5 into the 5-4 at that point. So it's better off doing the combo here, because then we're left with a 5-5 instead of a 2-4, which we might have used for later on, because he does run Ancient of War. So as silly as this may seem, to use our essentially victory condition here, it's really all about board control. Hit him in the face for 7. And we have board control. Ancient of Lore, drawing 2 cards. Yep. Could be risky actually, if we ran a second Force of Nature. Although it would be pretty unlikely of us to have both combos in our hand. If we did, we don't. This is good, so we can clear the 5-5 immediately with swipe. Yeah, that's what we'll do. We can also play Piloted and trade, but this is better again. This leaves us with a 5-5 instead of 2-4, well, 4-4 and a 4-3. And we have enough right now to kill him with Savage Roar. And Force of Nature. So that's going to be the combo, because there's really no point in doing it the other way, unless he has a Wrath, but he already used 2 Wraths. So this is going to be Savage Roar, right? Yep. But this is fine. I mean, we're still left with board control, right? We can just play the Shredder and the Spider Tank next turn. And the Annoytron. So, Shredder, Spider Tank, Annoytron. We have enough to kill him with Savage Roar, the second Savage Roar. We have a keeper for any taunts that he might put up. We're in a pretty good position here. He does have more cards than us though, so this could still go the other way. Healbot. That's exactly how. No, we don't have enough to kill him, I think. No, we don't have enough to kill him. Okay, so we're gonna kill the Sludge Belcher with the Spider Tank. Leave it at a 1. Vulnerable to swipe. He hasn't used any swipes yet, but it is what it is. Do we want to kill the Antique Healbot? That's the question. Like, I don't think we need to, right? We just want to get him lower, so next turn we can kill him with what we have on the board now. Again, we're kind of vulnerable to swipe.
Time waits for no one.
Gonna hit. Okay, so I guess he doesn't have swipe then. Just targeting the Spider Tank. Oh, 2 keepers. I guess. Yeah. Okay, that saves him from lethal. Sylvanas. So we just used both of his keepers, so we can't silence Sylvanas. So we're gonna play Sylvanas regardless. The question just is, how do we want to trade? We can do the keeper into the Antique Healbot. We can do the Shredder into one of the keepers. But that sets us up for a really good swipe. I think he would have swiped last turn though. That would have made more sense than what he did, I think. Then he would have killed both Spider Tanks. The Annoytron. I think he would have left us with like a Shredder or something. So he probably doesn't have swipe. He could draw into it. He only has 11 cards. Either way, we're playing Sylvanas. I think we can just hit him in the face with the Shredder. Even though he probably doesn't have swipe. It's probably safer.
Where shall I strike?
Druid of the Claw. That's not enough to stop us from winning. So he's just gonna hit that. And then hit... yeah, okay. Whew. Well, that's a victory for us. We can just do Savage Roar now. With swipe we definitely win. We can just do Savage Roar. Trade for the bear. Hit him in the face. Shapeshift. Hit him in the face. There we go. That's a long match. Against the Druid, but we won. So, that's all fine. Let's have a look at the deck. And last but not least, the amazing Druid deck, the Mana Mech Druid. The first reason why it's called the Mana Mech Druid is Innervate. The second reason is Wild Growth. Right here, these are the Ramp Druid mechanics. Ramp Druid, Ramp comes from Rampant Growth from Magic the Gathering, which was basically a way to accelerate your mana. They're also called acceleration decks for that reason. Very nice. Innervate gives you 2 mana crystals for 1 turn. Wild Growth gives you an empty mana crystal for all consecutive turns. So basically this allows you to cheat with mana really nicely, allows you to innervate out a bigger creature, or allows you to basically get ahead in mana so you can play bigger creatures. You'll find them very commonly in Druid decks because they are a very strong element of Druids. Then we have Wrath, really good removal, not much else to say here. It deals well with Undertakers, which have been buffed once. It deals well with Mech Warpers, what have you, very good against aggro decks. You want to have this in your opening hand against pretty much all aggro decks. Alternatively, you can draw one card with this and do 1 damage. So it basically also allows you to cycle your deck, which is very nice against more control-oriented decks, so it's not a wasted card against control by any means. Then we have Annoytron, your most basic mech. Very annoying indeed. Taunt, Divine Shield, very sticky, stays on the board, very good against clearing aggro decks. They have to run in a Leper Gnome, they have to run in a Web Spinner, what have you. Very good card, sticks on the board pretty well, so allows you to combo with Savage Roar and what have you. Mech Warper, your final part that allows you to cheat with mana. It makes all your mechs cost 1 less, which is, well, it's a very good part. But another really good part is that it has 3 health, which is a lot for a 2-drop. So it's probably going to stick around on the board as well, it's very durable. Savage Roar, your victory condition, we run 2 of these because you are going to be having a lot of board control with this deck. So most of the time, you don't even need to combo it with Force of Nature for it to be great. And secondly, if you have 2 Savage Roars and you have board control, well, it's going to get silly. So this, in combination with Force of Nature, is of course your 14 damage victory condition, but alternatively, you may as well just use it for a bit of board clear or win the actual game when you just have a lot of minions. Not much else to say here, just a really good buff. It's your victory condition in this deck. Then Spider Tanks. Now these are actually a point of discussion, because you could also be using the Harvest Golems. Now Harvest Golems are 2/3 with a Death Rattle summon 2/1. I use these in my Mage Mech deck, for instance, but I think in this deck, Spider Tank is definitely better. I might actually retroactively use Spider Tanks in my Mage Mech deck, not quite sure yet. The reason is, they both have their advantages, right? Harvest Golem is going to stick around better late game than Spider Tank, because if they have an Equality Consecration, if they have a Brawl, if they have a Flame Strike, Spider Tank is dead. Harvest Golem still leaves a 2/1 body on the field. That doesn't sound like much, but when you combine it with Savage Roar, that could very well be your victory right there. But Spider Tank, better early game. These are early game minions that you're going to be playing, that you want to have in your hand early on, most of the time. Spider Tank is better with dealing with aggression, right? If they play an Undertaker, they buff it once, Harvest Golem isn't going to kill it, Spider Tank is. If they play a Mech Warper, Harvest Golem isn't going to kill it, Spider Tank is. Secondly, if they have a Fiery War Axe, a warrior has to hit it twice, take 6 damage. If they hit the Harvest Golem twice, they only take 4 damage. So early game, Spider Tanks are definitely more worth it, even though they are, in theory, less sticky. They're just more durable early game. And late game, you have enough other creatures, so you don't really need to worry about any sticky creatures in your 3 slot. Spider Tanks is what I would recommend, but you can also use Harvest Golems. Find out which one you like best. Swipe. Swipe, just a very solid 4 damage nuke on one creature and a 1 damage AoE. It also combos well with Azure Drakes for 9 damage, 9 mana rather, for 5 damage and 2 AoE. Very good clear. These have been used since the dawn of Hearthstone, time. Use them. Keeper of the Grove, very nice card. It has a lot of utility. It can deal 2 damage, which is mostly what you're going to be doing against aggro decks like Zoo or Hunter. Alternatively, it gives you a Silence, which is very good against, say, Tyrion Fordring in Paladin, or Ancient of War in Druid, or Sludge Belcher, what have you. It allows you to deal with the taunts if you don't have any other way to deal with the taunts, if you have enough to kill them. It basically saves you a few deck slots, right? Because most decks use like 1 Owl, for instance, for a Silence. You don't need to do that, you have 2 Keepers. Very good cards. Pilot Shredder, these are your 4-drop mechs. You could also be using the Yeti, the Mechanical Yeti, more specifically, because you want to be cheating with mana, right? I would recommend the Pilot Shredder, kind of for the reverse reason why I would recommend the Spider Tank. These are stickier, right? And these are more late game creatures. Than the Spider Tanks. You're going to be using these more near the end. So you drop this, it might get killed by AoE, you still have a 2-cost minion. Most of the time this is pretty good. If you get like Lorewalker Cho or Doomsayer, you are pretty sad, but that's only 2 cards. The rest of them are pretty good to have. And it may also draw out a Silence. You have a lot of stuff that can get silenced later on in the game. If a Piloted Shredder gets silenced, you're pretty happy most of the time. Very good 4-drop mech. Then we have Azure Drakes for your only 5-drop card in this deck. The reason we're using Azure Drakes is because they combo very well with Swipe and Wrath because of the spell power, but more importantly, they allow you to draw a card. Basically, they allow you to keep up the tempo in the game. Very good cards. Force of Nature, again already kind of went over it with Savage Roar. This is your 14 damage victory condition most of the time, right? You also saw me use it as board clear. That doesn't happen all that often, but you can certainly use it for that. Very good cards have been used. Well, this combo has been used again since the dawn of time. Piloted Sky Golem, very good 6-drop mech. The only 6-drop mech, I believe, right? Let me double check that. Oh, we of course have Mech Bearcat, but that one is not something we're going to be using. Piloted Sky Golem, the reason we use Piloted Sky Golem over Mech Bearcat actually is because it is stickier. It stays on the board more easily. We probably drew out the silences with Piloted Shredder. So Piloted Sky Golem, very nice. Place him on the board, it gets killed, you still have a 4-drop, most of them are pretty good. Very nice card. The 6 damage is more than enough to deal with enemies as well. By the way, the Mech Bearcat isn't that great, because it also has 7 damage, so it can get hit by like a BGH, whereas Piloted Sky Golem can't. Very nice card, Piloted Sky Golem. Then we have Sylvanas. So Sylvanas is a very interesting legendary. I was asked a few times with my Mage Mech deck what you could replace Sylvanas with. I also use it in that deck. There isn't really any answer, because she's such a special card. You place her on the board, you have a 5/5 body, but the enemy immediately has to deal with her in a very awkward way most of the time. Like, they can't play a Dr. Boom if you place this on turn 6, they can't play a Ragnaros or what have you, because you might very well take their big, scary threat. So, most of the time, it forces them to deal very awkwardly with Sylvanas by trading in, like, all of their entire board. They don't want you to take anything. It's a very nice card. It's a pretty slow card, but you can definitely use it in this deck because we have all that mana acceleration. And furthermore, because we already drew out the silences with Piloted Shredders and Piloted Sky Golems, most of the time she doesn't get silenced. Then we have the Black Knight. This is very much an open spot. You can use anything else here most of the time, like Big Game Hunter. Where are you? Oh, I should not put this on all. Like Big Game Hunter. There we go. It's something you can use as well. I find Black Knight works better because pretty much every single deck nowadays uses a taunt of some description. Hunters are the least likely to use a taunt, but you have Zoo, which use Defender of Argus. Not something you want to use against Zoo, though. You don't want to keep the Black Knight against aggro decks. But against a Warrior, they use Sludge Belchers. Against Paladins, they use Sludge Belchers. They use Tyrian Fordring. Against Druids, they use Ancient of War. They use Sludge Belchers sometimes. They use Druid of the Claw sometimes. There's a lot of taunts in the current meta, so Black Knight works very well. Big Game Hunter is definitely a consideration though, because pretty much every deck uses Dr. Boom, and Big Game Hunter is a very nice way to deal with Dr. Boom. That being said, I've had more success with Black Knight, so I would recommend using this currently over Big Game Hunter in this deck. You can actually use both if you can fit it in. This is very much an open slot that you can fill with anything else. Ancient of Lore, absolutely fantastic Druid cards. You place them on the board, you draw 2 cards. Sometimes you have to use the heal against a Freeze Mage or against maybe a Hunter. Most of the time you're going to place this and get 2 cards immediate value from this card, even if it gets killed. Otherwise it's a very scary 5/5 body. Very good card. And then finally, Dr. Boom, which is just incredibly good currently. One of the best, if not the best, GVG card. Use it. It places 3 bodies on the field, which is more than enough to use Savage Roar with. Most of the time that just wins you the game right there. It will get hit by Big Game Hunter if they have it. Just a very good card, crazy good card. A 7/7 with 2 Doombots, Boombots. And that right there is the deck. So thank you for watching, my name is Ben Haas, and I'll see you in the next video.